There's a phase of investing that feels almost insulting. You're doing everything right. You're saving consistently, you're buying solid investments, you're living below your means. And yet, nothing happens. You open your investment app expecting to feel smarter, safer, richer. Instead, you feel disappointed. The balance barely moved. Years of effort and the number still feels small. Meanwhile, someone you work with casually mentions their portfolio went up more than your annual salary and they didn't even add money. They were on vacation when it happened. That's when doubt creeps in. Am I doing this wrong? Is investing even worth it? Why does this feel so slow? Here's the truth no one explains clearly. Wealth doesn't grow gradually. It stays quiet until it ignites. That ignition is what I call the wealth ignition point, and almost everyone quits right before reaching it. Welcome to Smart Invests. This channel is about investing money the right way, in the right order, so your effort actually pays off. If you care about building real wealth instead of chasing hype, hit subscribe. This video alone could save you thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Beginning feels like failure. Let's reset expectations. When you start investing, returns don't feel like returns. They feel irrelevant. If you invest $5,000 and the market gives you 8%, that's $400. That's groceries. That's not freedom. That's not motivating. So your brain concludes, I'm doing all the work. The market isn't helping. And mathematically, you're right. In the early years, your savings matter more than growth. You are the engine. Your portfolio is just a container. This phase is brutal because it's invisible. No one congratulates you for discipline. No one sees the progress. There's no emotional payoff. This is why investing feels broken at the start. Not because it doesn't work, but because it works quietly. The push phase nobody warns you about. Imagine pushing a massive object across concrete. Not downhill, not with momentum, just raw force. The first few feet take everything you've got. Your legs burn, your hands shake. You look back and barely see movement. That's the first several years of investing. From zero to your first meaningful balance, you're doing almost 100% of the work. This phase typically lasts 5 to 8 years for most people. That's long enough to lose motivation, compare yourself to others, convince yourself it's pointless. And that's exactly why most people never build real wealth. They stop pushing before ignition. The wealth ignition point explained simply. The wealth ignition point is the moment when returns start to matter more than effort. It's when the math changes sides. For many people, this happens somewhere around $100,000 invested. Not because $100,000 is magical, but because scale finally kicks in. At $10,000, a good year adds maybe $800. At $100,000, that same year adds $8,000. Now the growth feels real. Now the portfolio contributes. Now momentum exists. You're still adding money, but you're no longer alone. That's ignition. Why progress speeds up after ignition? Here's something that surprises almost everyone. The second $100,000 usually takes less time than the first. Same income, same strategy, same behavior. The difference? Returns are no longer decoration, they're functional. Your money starts amplifying your effort instead of just storing it. This is when people say, it finally feels like it's working. Because it is. A simple example that makes this obvious. Let's say you invest $15,000 a year. At $50,000 invested, your contribution does almost all the work. At $300,000 invested, the market can add as much as you do. At $600,000 invested, the market often adds more than you do. This is the financial crossover, a core part of the wealth ignition point. Your assets begin outperforming your labor. That's when financial anxiety starts to fade. Why early withdrawals are so dangerous. This is where many people sabotage themselves. You've been grinding for years, you finally hit a comfortable number, and you decide you deserve a reward. New car, bigger apartment, lifestyle upgrade. But here's what you actually did. You didn't just spend money, you slowed the machine. Pulling $20,000 early doesn't just cost $20,000. It costs decades of future growth because you interrupted momentum before it fully ignited. The rule during the push phase is simple. Don't touch the engine while it's warming up. When the numbers start feeling unreal. After ignition, money starts behaving differently. Your portfolio might move $30,000 in a bad month, $50,000 in a good one. These aren't savings. These are fluctuations. At first, it feels surreal. Then it feels normal. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop checking constantly. Because you understand something crucial. Volatility is not danger. Selling is. The trap of doing something smarter. Once people reach higher balances, they feel pressure to get fancy. Real estate, side businesses, complicated strategies. Sometimes those work. Often they just add stress. You already built a system that compounds quietly and relentlessly. Breaking it apart for complexity often slows progress. The wealth ignition point rewards simplicity, not cleverness. The final phase nobody talks about. Eventually, the math says you're free. You could stop working. You could walk away. But many people don't. Not because they need money, but because they don't know who they are without work. This is the final boss of wealth building. Money solves numbers. It doesn't solve identity. What this means for you right now. If you're early, you're not behind. You're in the hardest, most important phase. If you're near ignition, protect momentum like your future depends on it, because it does. If you're past ignition, don't sabotage simplicity. The wealth ignition point doesn't announce itself. It doesn't celebrate. It just quietly starts working for you. And one day you'll realize money stopped being the main character in your life. That's real wealth.